Sosukeaizen is one of the most memorable and iconic anime villains known for his wit and power, but what are the extents of his power? I plan on going in quick detail in this video discussing how powerful Aizen is and how powerful he's become by the end of the series and where he ranks among other characters in the series. Now first off, we have to discuss Aizen's intellect. He's a master of deception, planning, provocations, and is a pro when it comes to scientific matters, namely hollows and soul reapers. He was able to construct his own Hogyoku, made with the souls of dozens of Rukongai citizens with soul reaper potential. He produced hollows and sent out enemies according to Ichigo's level of power so that he could level him up on the low. He fooled the entire Soul Society for more than a century and formed the Espada, all without letting anyone figure him out unless he would let them. For Aizen to be able to plan all the foes that Ichigo would face up to the final battle would take a painstaking understanding of his enemies and subordinates as people, and the things that would push them to unknowingly work in his favor or against it. Because if you really think about it, the littlest things such as Grimmjow sealing Ulquiorra in a Kaha Negation played a crucial role in Ichigo achieving the level of power he did in his final battle with Aizen in the future. Now aside from Aizen's knowledge, he is one of the Soul Society's greatest prodigies, having proficient skill, Zanjutsu, Kido, Shunpo, and presumably Hakuda. His Zanjutsu was able to dismantle the Gote and the Visors all by himself, and his Kido spells can one-shot a captain with only a third of its power, even able to produce spells of vast size shown when he launches that giant Raikoho at Ishin in the fake Karakura town arc. Most notably, Aizen has twice the spiritual pressure of a captain and has such masterful control over it that he could exert its force towards Grimmjow in the meeting room without crushing the rest of the Espada in the vicinity. Even Gin has stated that the Espada don't just fear Aizen because of Kyoka Suigetsu, but because of his overall power and intellect. Keep in mind that I have yet to bring up Hogyoku Aizen. So moving on to his Zanpakuto Kyoka Suigetsu, it allows him to manipulate the five senses including Reikaku, which is the sense that allows you to detect spiritual pressure, all with its Shikai ability. So this may allow him to produce powerful visual and auditory illusions that you can touch and smell or taste as if they were right there, and the only condition for you to fall under its spell permanently is to look at its Shikai release just once. Now the insane part is that you'll never know if he's released it or not. The sword doesn't change its appearance in any way, and he only says the release command when dispelling the illusions. So the only weaknesses of Kyoka Suigetsu are touching the blade to become immune to its ability, or a slight weakness where you can notice some flaws in the illusions should your spiritual pressure be efficient enough. Now these are both really tricky, as you can imagine. But now we move on to the meat and potatoes, the Hogyoku and its power to manifest desires of others. Before leaving Wekumundo, Aizen had implanted the Hogyoku into his chest, using it with him and causing it to prioritize his desires, which were to become a being that transcended hollows and soul reapers alike. Now this translated in Aizen developing teleportation abilities, these Fragor nukes, fusion with his Zanpakuto, and regenerative abilities that evolved full-on immortality, as he was able to survive 2 point-blank Getsugas after back-to-back attacks, his own spiritual pressure incinerating him from the inside, and regenerating everything after being atomized by Ichigo's Mugetsu. His most notable gains from the Hogyoku constantly evolving him were buffs in his spiritual pressure, bumping him up to a level where captain level soul reapers were incapable of detecting his power, and even enabling him to destroy the Cleaner, a being that resides in the Dangai and governs space-time. Now as stated by Gin, it's not an entity that abides by the laws of spiritual pressure, meaning that strong enough spiritual pressure shouldn't be enough to get rid of it, and that it doesn't have spiritual pressure of its own. Aizen manages to outright destroy it with his spiritual pressure alone, stating his own power to be beyond reason. His Kido spells, namely the Kurohitsugi, were especially enhanced as they were stated to be capable of warping space and time when performed by a transcendent being such as himself. And during his battle with Ichigo, he was able to go from having his sword caught in Ichigo's hand to scarring his left arm immensely with a single projectile that quickly, something Yamamoto could barely do to Aizen after using Hado 96. Now, after Ichigo's Mugetsu, the Hogyoku began to stop evolving Aizen and made him vulnerable to Kisuke's seal, but even then, it was still passively strengthening him, which allowed him to become stronger than he was when he fought Dangai Ichigo. We can even see that he still possesses transcendent spiritual pressure in the Thousand-Year Blood War arc when he questions Kisuke, asking whether he can feel the change in Yuhaba's spiritual pressure, much to Kisuke's surprise. Now this is a Yuhaba that is absorbing the Soul King, so he's bound to be transcendent. He could take a blast of spirit energy from Yuhaba and shrug it off while talking about the chair. And his Zanpakuto is still fused with him, meaning he can use its abilities without needing to manifest the blade, which also means that you simply have to look at Aizen and not the sword itself in order to fall under Kyoka Suigetsu's spell. We see this in his first interaction with Yuhaba in Muken, where Aizen uses his Shikai and he releases it right when Yuhaba was about to impale Ichigo. Furthermore, Yuhaba states that Aizen must have altered his sense of time, which isn't one of the senses that Kyoka Suigetsu should be able to manipulate. And further along during the arc, Aizen is able to place Yuhaba with the Almighty under his spell, even fooling the futures he had seen, which allowed for Ichigo to attack him from behind. He's even able to make Yuhaba see Renji's Sou Zabimaru and Ichigo's true Bankai, despite Aizen having never seen these two Bankais before. These feats suggest that not only did Aizen gain a boost in power during his time in confinement, but a boost in his Shikai ability as well. Now if I had to place Aizen in a ranking of who the strongest characters are in Bleach, I would put him just barely above Ichigo, but even then I'm not all that confident about that ranking, as he could be argued as just a bit beneath Ichigo. But I'd like to hear your thoughts in the comments. Do you agree or disagree with Aizen's placement? If you like this video, please like and subscribe, as it lets me know whether you enjoy my content, and I plan to post more videos like this. Take care.
Kudakero, Kyoka Suigetsu. しびれ瞬き眠りを妨げる。栄唱は不要だ。